Hello and welcome. It's hard to say what is hotter, the political temperature or the temperature here on the ground. With our special series, The Dhabas of Democracy, as we travel by road from Kumari to Kashmir, we have now reached Hyderabad. We are live from here today as we look at the war of narratives between the BJP and the Congress. Remember, it was from here in Telangana that Rahul Gandhi first made his speech about wanting to conduct a financial survey if the Congress came to power. Since then, the Modi government has put the Congress on the back foot with the wealth redistribution debate. The Congress has disassociated itself from family associate Sam Pitroda's statements on inheritance tax, but the Prime Minister is not letting up. In his speech today as well, he lashed out at the Congress party for the position it's taken, saying in Hindi, "Ye aapki sampatti hadap lenge." Meanwhile, Rahul Gandhi has issued a clarification. He's issued a clarification seeming to partially walk back from his comments on wanting to, in some ways, redistribute wealth. That exact phrase was, in fact, not used in the manifesto. It was used in a speech that he made here in Telangana. On the broadcast today, we'll be looking at the war of narratives. The Congress says the Prime Minister is nervous. That is why he's trying to deflect attention. He's making non-issues into issues. They have absolutely no plan to impose an inheritance tax. They claim that the Prime Minister is using polarizing issues with references to Muslims and Mangal Sutras because he's nervous about phase one. The BJP says it's actually tripped the Congress on a kind of web of its own making. It's a tangled web they've woven, and that this might be Sam Pitroda's Mani Shankar Iyer moment in this election. Let's introduce our panel today as we look at the war of narratives. We continue to travel through the heart, the length and breadth of India, coming to you live from Telangana as we look at a dipstick test of the political temperatures. Who's ahead, who's behind? Sandeep Ghose, political analyst, is with us. Sandeep is a supporter of the Prime Minister, but with caveats and qualifications and not always of the party. We'll find out from him how he thinks the narrative war is going. Mohandas, a well-known industrialist, educationist, political analyst, is with us. The Congress has been pulling out Mohandas Pai's old statements on inheritance tax. We'll find out in a moment what he has to say about them today. Also joining us is Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha is a never-give-up defender of the Congress party, was suspended by the party but continues to champion its cause. Welcome to the program. And Saba, the author of The Saffron Wave, a very senior journalist and author who has spent her life studying the BJP, is with us as well. So let me actually start by playing out for you Rahul Gandhi. Is he walking back his comments? Did he not think them through when he spoke about a Desh Ke Liye X-ray, which was a caste census? He's still not giving up on caste census, but he's saying, hang on, we're not going to act against or on what we find. This is what he said.
मैं सिर्फ ये कह रहा हूं कि हिंदुस्तान में आज 90% के साथ अन्याय हो रहा है, भयंकर अन्याय हो रहा है। अब मैंने ये भी नहीं कहा, आज तक मैंने ये भी नहीं कहा कि हम कोई एक्शन लेंगे। मैंने सिर्फ ये कहा है कि देखिए, ये पता लगाते हैं कि कितना अन्याय हो रहा है। इसका तो कोई एतराज नहीं होना चाहिए।
इसका तो कोई एतराज नहीं होना चाहिए. Mohandas Pai, before we come to your views on inheritance tax, Rahul Gandhi says we only said there should be a survey to find out structural inequality. There should be a caste census. What's the problem with this? So let me ask you, what is the problem with it?
Barkha, his thinking over the last 1 or 2 years. He's gone outside India, abused India on everything. Within India too, he's making the statement, we'll have some X-ray, we'll have a revolutionary idea, we'll do this. His acolytes like Sam Pitroda and others who have an undue influence of him have been talking about this. And this is a man who tore up Manmohan Singh's bill in public. So everybody in Congress knows whatever the Congress manifesto is, whatever the right, this man counts above all because nobody can oppose him. Nobody can speak about him. He's the law into himself. He's very whimsical. So he's been making this kind of extremist statements. He says, my life's ambition is to have the caste census. Nobody can stop it. I'm going to do it. Nobody supports the caste census like he does because nobody sees the use. Even in Bihar, they made a caste census. They found it's of no use to anybody. So I think, look, the statement that 90% of India has suffered injustice is ridiculous. They ruled this the country for about 50, 55 years. I mean, it is. I agree with him that 90% suffered injustice because of Nehru, because in 1950 to 80, we became poorer in 80 compared to 50 because of bad policies, suppressing Indian private capital. He is responsible for the 90%. Now, at least 10%, he says, has succeeded. Now, he wants to pull down the 10% to make it 100% because that is what Nehru did. And that's what his grandmother did. She tried to remedy it. That's what his grandmother did. It is Narasimha Rao, who's outside the family, who liberalized India, who liberated all of us, and Indians have done well. I mean, he's out of tune with reality. He's living in a world of his own, where he thinks that he's a last great imperialistic guy who has to give out doles to everybody else, and he is the guy who is going to change India without knowing what India is. Even in this Bharat Yodo, I don't think he understood what it was, because a carefully choreographed place where everybody who came there was choreographed. They did it very well. I mean, I don't understand his thinking. I mean, his whole thinking is flawed. And whenever he says, I will do a survey, I will do this, for what purpose and for what reason? You can ask an economist to write details about who wants what, where it is. A lot of public data is available. You know who has the bank deposits in this country. You know who wants securities. You know who wants mutual funds, who wants equity. All the data is there. He can make a database, in the next 3-4 months. I'm sure Sanjay can do it very well and show him. But, this whole perversion, go after successful people, pull them out because we can't help the poor. We have kept the poor, so they'll vote for us all this time. We suppress them. We can't let them go. So if they find out some people can be successful, pull the successful people down. So everybody will be miserable.
But let me ask you before I open it up, and let me ask you right at the top of the program, the Congress has pulled out old clippings that show that Mohandas spy, and we have that headline.
Let me explain.
Mohandas spy. Mohandas spy supported the inheritance tax. Can I please play it? Can you please play it?
Hang on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What did I say? Yeah. See, it was a debate about giving away, about Jaitley saying why we don't have big endowments for universities, for colleges, for museum and research association. I said the rich people must give away the money. We must have endowments, and we must do it in a way where it goes for public purpose or society benefits. I didn't say you must have an inheritance tax to pay the government, which goes into a deep black hole when money disappears. I said you must have a scheme whereby incentivize people to give away for universities and endowments, and I believe that. And that's a very different thing from inheritance tax or anything else. You understand?
So you're saying that old headline from the Mint that we just showed is wrong, or it doesn't tell the complete
No, it's not wrong. Read the whole thing. To incentivize people to give away or induce people to give away, we must have this tax. Let me explain to you. Suppose you say we're going to charge 15% on your entire value if you pass it on to your progeny. But if you write a will and give away 15% of all the assets you have to people who got an ATG, universities and others in the next 3 years, this will be set up against that. That's the kind of thing where the money goes for a public purpose. It doesn't go to government, because going to government does not create value here. It only destroys value. That's the point I'm making for limited. I stand by it. Even today, I believe people who are billionaires should give away 20-30% of their wealth, either before they pass away or they do otherwise for public welfare. We need universities, we need schools, we need colleges, and people who made great money should do it voluntarily. That is compassionate capitalism, which we need in this country, and that's what we've been talking about.
Okay. Mohandas Pai says compassionate capitalism is quite different from a wealth redistribution and inheritance tax. Sanjay Jha, you remember when the Congress first got wiped out in 2014, Kamal Nath, your friend, at that time said that the Congress had failed to read the pulse of aspirational India. Aspirational India today wants to create wealth. It doesn't want to go back to socialist years. It doesn't want to go back to Garibi Hatao years. Are you out of sync? When I say you, I don't mean you, Sanjay Jha, but the party you support. Is this an out of sync moment? And the point is, the BJP is once again setting the narrative and the Congress is defending itself. This is exactly what the BJP wanted. Is Sam Pitroda Casablanca had that line played against Sam. Has Sam Pitroda once again delivered a kind of Mani Shankar Iyer moment in this campaign, Sanjay Jha?
Barkha, let me give you a short response. The BJP is clearly doing what any desperate political party or individual would do: a dying man or a drowning man clutching at a straw. Sam Pitroda's comment, by the way, is not just been echoed by my friend Mohan in that article, but Mohan is correct actually in saying that, rich billionaires should give 2% voluntarily, or they should have an inheritance tax, which Mohan is aware will have to go to the government, which the government will then channelize for welfare and for the poor. So that argument stands, I think, absolutely in place. But Mohan was not the only person, including Jayant Sinha, one of the few people in the BJP I genuinely like to listen to, because he made sense. And I knew that he knew his economics. Even Mr. Jaitley contemplated putting it in the 2019 budget. Now, here is my answer to you. Can anyone, and all of us on this panel are English speaking, educated elite, as the word would call it, or Mr. Modi would call us as the Lutyens gang, even if he is in Bangalore and I live in Mumbai. The truth is this: India has a severe income inequality. Who proves it? Narendra Modi does. Here, I'll give you an example. 56% of Indians, around 80 crore people, get 5 kilo of food grains for 5 years. Mr. Modi is actually telling the people of India that we are going to remain unequal and poor for the next 5 years. He's already confirmed that. When you have Manrega, it is a redistribution. When you have, and the Food Security Act that the Congress brought out is exactly what Mr. Modi is implementing. So if you look at redistribution, the term that Narendra Modi is exploiting I believe in a very crude and vulgar way, talking about Mangal Sutra and land, which is all lies, by the way, pure and simple, unadulterated lies. What is the message going out there? He hasn't even understood the fundamental point that this is not going to echo with the people of India, because, Barkha, you need to know the one truth that Mr. Modi actually completely obliterated. Hypothetically, a country which has an inheritance tax has it, as Mohan correctly points out in his Mint article, is on the richest few people in the country. So this whole assumption, when you ask me, the aspirational India is not affected by it at all. In fact, who will be affected if a particular government were to do it
But
would be
Sanjay,
just give me a second.
Sorry, okay.
Just give me a second. Would be like 20, 30, maybe 100 billionaires of this country. That's about it. So here is the point. Here is the bottom line. No one is being affected. The Congress has already said they're not implementing the inheritance tax. That puts an issue in closure. So what is the truth? The truth is that Mr. Modi has actually completely misunderstood what equality stands for. Here is a man who's actually ignored the poor, ignored the farmers, allowed unemployment to balloon, has basically devastated India's small
Okay.
businesses, has
Okay, Sanjay, I have
accentuated
to
and
get the others.
aggravated inequality.
I have to get the others. Mohan, you had a brief interjection. Then I want to play out the Prime Minister's speech and come to Sandeep
Small
and
point,
Saba.
small
Mohan?
point,
Yeah.
small point. Barkha, please do research. Take the top 100 Congress people who are contesting the election, the net worth. Take the top 100 BJP, see the net worth, and see whether the top 100 here, top 100 there, including Sanjay Jha, are willing to pay 55% of their assets for this so-called tax. I'm sure none of them will raise their hand and say, hey, man, just impose, go ahead and do. I'm sure you'll also not agree to that. I'm sure Sanjay will not agree. I don't know about others. Sanjay will not agree, and our friend will not, both the friends will not agree. So you just check
Okay.
up the political people. We got a
Mohan,
deputy chief minister who's
Okay,
worth
okay, okay, guys.
1,400 crores.
Guys, you can't, you can't now, you have to let, you have to let
a
Saba
quick
and Sandeep
response.
speak.
But
Okay.
Barkha, give me 15 seconds. If amongst the BJP and Congress politicians, and if I happen to be in that list, and frankly speaking, if I am, that's an obscene level of wealth the individuals have. We know Mr. Gautam Adani for sure grew in an astronomical fashion. End of day, a Gautam Adani, a Mukesh Ambani, a Vedanta owner, or a Sajjan Jindal, if they pay an inheritance tax, if the BJP imposes it or the Congress imposes it, so be it. Why should that bother anybody
Okay,
else? The common
okay,
man is
okay,
protected.
okay. Here's the point. Here's the point. The facts in elections tragically don't always matter. The perception of those facts
I
does.
know.
And at
I
this
know.
point, we need to start discussing Is the narrative that the BJP is nervous and so all this is happening, or has the BJP tripped and trapped the Congress? Now, Sandeep and Saba will come in as soon as we hear what the Prime Minister said today. He's not just doubling down, he's tripling down. He's got an issue and now he's not letting go of it. Listen it.
मान लीजिए आपने अपने बच्चों के लिए 4 कमरे का घर बनाया है, तो आपके बाद सिर्फ 2 कमरे आपके संतान को मिलेंगे, 2 कमरे कांग्रेस सपा की जो सरकार बनेगी वो सरकार उसको हड़प कर लेगी। मान लीजिए आपके पास 10 बीघा खेत है, तो 5 बीघा ही आपके बच्चों को मिलेगा, बाकी कांग्रेस सपा की जो सरकार है वो हड़प कर लेगी। आप अपनी संपत्ति क्या कांग्रेस सपा के भ्रष्ट पंजे के हाथ में जाने देंगे? जरा पूरी ताकत से बनाइए, मुद्दा बड़ा गंभीर बनता जा रहा है। जाने देंगे? आपको गुस्सा आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है? साथियों, एससी, एसटी, ओबीसी के हक पर डाका डालने और बहनों के मंगलसूत्र पर नजर डालने से पहले जरा इंडी गठबंधन वालों, ये दीवार पर लिखा हुआ पढ़ लो और कान खोलकर सुन लो। जब तक मोदी जिंदा है, ऐसा कोई भी पाप करने से पहले आपको मोदी से निपटना पड़ेगा।
Okay, Saba, first I must correct, I call Saba the author of a book, Saffron Wave. The only wave right now is his heat wave. The book's name is Saffron Storm. Saba, go ahead. We've been talking about a certain anxiety. That's what the opposition believes that the BJP is feeling. Hence the pivot to Hindu-Muslim. Now the BJP's got a ready-made issue because let's be fair. It is not the Congress manifesto. It is Rahul Gandhi who in his speech from Telangana first opens this conversation about a financial survey. Everyone is talking about Sam Pitroda, but this conversation is actually started by Rahul Gandhi. Is it helping or hurting the Congress, you think?
I don't think it's hurting them, Barkha, contrary to the media narrative. And to imagine that this kind of rhetoric is not hurting the Prime Minister. You are aware, I mean, I have said this to you before, I have been inundated with requests from foreign media because they see this as some kind of crazy stuff that's going on in India, that the Prime Minister, but I have not participated in those. I don't wish to give those bites right now. If you want to talk about structure of a campaign, Indian elections, I'm ready to do it. Right now, I don't have the time to sit down. You know how time-consuming those things can be. They arrive with the crew and they take up your whole day and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's working well for him, for the Vishwa Guru, to start saying that Muslims are coming and snatching a Mangal Sutra. To start, it's not classy. It's just bad form. You can say that it stokes prejudice which some Indians have in their hearts and minds. Sure, I will say yes, you are right analytically. But it doesn't look good. It's a very...
But Saba, don't you find, can I ask a clarification? Don't you find the conversation has moved away from what the Prime Minister said on Muslims and gone totally into redistribution and wealth and inheritance tax?
So I don't think Rahul Gandhi has nuanced everything correctly. But if you look at the Congress manifesto, and this I know because if you look at in the Tamil Nadu leg, somebody who's very deeply, an important figure, this 1 lakh guarantee. So what the Congress manifesto is about giving money, that 1 lakh promise is a big one as far as they're concerned. That worked as far as they understand it. So it's about giving things away to people. So it is about income redistribution to an extent. Now, whether Rahul Gandhi is the right person to talk about OBC census and all is a different issue. But Mr. Pai is correct. It has been an obsession with him for over a year, that about income guarantees and so on and so forth. And to say that India is not unequal, you are sitting, you've gone through states with a water crisis. Water comes from Adivasi areas and it comes to the city, and they are standing there and begging for water over there. So to imagine that there is not structural inequality and that it has not increased, everything tells us that the number of billionaires has increased. The Forbes list in the Modi era, in the year of COVID, the number of billionaires increased. This is just data, Forbes magazine data. This is hardly a left-wing urban Nakshal data. I'm not even an economist. So I think it's a mistake to imagine that what the traditional television media is saying, because they are only serving the Prime Minister, that somehow you must understand what the Prime Minister has done and said in this round. He may appear to be strong, but by many people's standard is completely way off the charts. You have actually said, you are so confident, you're so successful, you're actually saying that some party is going to come and snatch away people's wealth, and that Muslims, the world's third largest population, has an eye on the Mangal Sutra. Am I wrong in what I'm saying? If I have created a false fact, please correct me. This is what he's saying. He even said Muslim.
Let's take this to Sandeep. As someone who's a qualified supporter of the Prime Minister, do you agree with the rhetoric that the Prime Minister used when he spoke about Muslims, community that wants to have more children? He even used pet, infiltrators, intruders in that speech. And here's the intriguing question. That speech, the EC today has served notices to both the Prime Minister and Rahul Gandhi. I don't think anyone really expects any resolution on that front. That speech is not in the headlines. What's in the headlines is, अरे आपकी संपत्ति लेके किसी और को दे देंगे. They'll take your wealth and give it to someone else. That is what's in the headlines. That speech and its controversy and its tone and tenor has somewhat been forgotten, though. As I said, the Prime Minister is tripling down. He mentioned Mangal Sutras. This is the third time in his speech today as well कि वो Mangal Sutra ले लेंगे औरतों का. Sandeep?
So I don't know where to start. I wrote a piece 2 days ago about narratives. Every game has its rules. So there is a different rule for a T20, and then there is for ODIs, and there are test matches. But this is not even a test match or a test series. This is now, with 6 weeks of elections, it is like a marathon. So when you're running a marathon, the narrative is as much of the game. The narrative keeps changing along the way. And that, people, as you are traveling, you would see how the narrative changes as you even move up the thing. And that's something which both sides or all sides, the two national parties really speaking, others would have their local narrative that would have happened. And so that's how the narrative is evolving. We obviously live in a very unequal world, an unfair world, where somebody like Sanjay, who is a so-called suspended member of the Congress party, he is being taken seriously as his comments, and he is the kind of a spokesperson who is really representing Congress. And whereas Mr. Pitroda, who is supposed to be the chairman of Indian Overseas Congress, is now a persona non grata. People are treating him as, he's a family friend and advisor, etc. Though he actually holds an official position, people are disowning him. But it's all part of that whole narrative game, how people are doing. Now, I'm not bothered about whether Mr. Modi wins, if Mr. Modi is becoming popular, unpopular by this, whether he is going to. But what do I react to as a citizen, Barkha? The consistency in Congress's messaging. Today, it is this thing about wealth tax, inheritance tax, etc. Congress has been consistently messaging a very, very ultra-left agenda for a long, long time. Everything they have been doing, the whole stance seems to have changed in the last year and a half. And that's why on your show, our mutual friend Tehseen Poonawala all the time calls about the party being under siege by the left loonies. These are his words, which we have heard several times. That a lot of people feel that is what's happening. So that is the kind of messaging which is going through. Now, Rahul Gandhi may dial down, Sam Pitroda may be put up, but what am I as a voter hearing? I am as a voter hearing that there is going to be a very, very populist turn, whether there is inheritance tax or not, but there is very clear messaging that we are going, which I consider retrograde. Okay, I'm not wealthy like Mr. Pai and his friends to really worry about how much tax I have to pay. But I'm really worried, for example, that, okay, I have a single daughter. I've been putting a nest egg aside for so long. Now, she, if tomorrow there is inheritance tax, what happens to my girl? So that would be my worry. There are a whole series of messages, and where it is going to really hurt is, say, I am sitting in Calcutta. Here, there may be my choice. Whatever you call me a BJP supporter or not, in Bengal, I may actually would have chosen to vote for a TMC. But today I'd be worried that by voting for TMC, am I going to bring in a government? Because it's very clear, Mr. Gandhi, when he speaks, he doesn't speak of India Alliance. He says, when I come, well, this is my idea, this is my mission, this is this. Am I going to therefore support getting a very Luddite old world?
Sandeep, to briefly ask you, the Congress says it was Jayant Sinha, Mohandas Pai. You just heard Mohan's explanation. Amit Malviya, even, who's now deleted his tweet, that once supported the same inheritance tax. This tweet is now deleted. That today,
we know where
being attacked for.
No, so that doesn't justify. I'm as a citizen. If they say Rahul Gandhi is taken as seriously as Jayant Sinha, who's today out in the wilderness, political wilderness, and Amit Malviya is a party spokesperson. After all, he will do today. Somebody, I think there's a quote somebody posted wherein this another senior Congress leader has said, I quote from there, which is here. I'm exhausted just defending the manifesto from both insiders and outsiders. This is a quote of a very senior thing in a leading newspaper. So that is the whole situation there. So people have to justify sometimes or defend the indefensible. So therefore, Amit Malviya, nobody takes seriously. The ordinary voter won't. Jayant Sinha, if somebody in Hazaribagh did take him seriously at that point in time, he is nowhere in the scene. Unless you're saying Jayant Sinha of the same stature as Rahul Gandhi. So what Jayant Sinha said 5 years ago, and with due respect, Mr. Mohandas Pai also, is not what Rahul Gandhi...
Sinha was MOS Finance then.
Fine, but then Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. But if today Manmohan Singh says something and Rahul Gandhi says something, who does one take seriously? When Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, Mohandas Pai says his paper was stolen. Whom did you take seriously?
Saba wanted to come in. I want to play out two statements, both Jayant Sinha and Sam Pitroda. I want to understand how Mohan's view is different from Sam Pitroda.
Till day before yesterday, I just want to point out one on a lighter note. Everyone was taking Manmohan Singh very seriously. They said on that year he said this. So that doesn't hold. That's all I'm saying. So we can keep on excavating and saying they said this. I'm saying, look what the Prime Minister of India is saying. Let's talk about that. He's the most. Who is Rahul Gandhi? Who is Manmohan Singh? Prime Minister is Prime Minister, third term, bhai. Unhi ki baat karo. That's all.
Quick comments from Sanjay and Mohan. Then we need to play out some more clips. Sorry, Sandeep is saying something. Can we unmute Sandeep? Sandeep, yeah.
Can I come in?
If you take Prime Minister seriously, we can criticize, agree, disagree with him. We can do that, and which I also do. I have no problem in that. But I wouldn't go and say some BJP saying something and compare that with Rahul Gandhi, unless, which is actually right. Rahul Gandhi is just an MP of the party technically.
Okay, Sanjay Jha and Mohandas Pai. Okay, Sanjay Jha and Mohandas Pai.
Yeah, Barkha, very quickly. Number one, let's not forget, because I don't want anybody of your viewers to forget, the big issue, whether the mainstream media talks about it or not, is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's hate speech. And you mentioned why the headlines have changed. Barkha, you are one of the veterans of television, one of the most respected names. We know that the Prime Minister and Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah can utter anything. It can be absurd, atrocious, preposterous, but the mainstream media will make it a narrative. The opposition, unfortunately, is not on a level playing field. But, Sandeep made a point about left-leaning. I think we need to make a correction here. Sandeep, I don't think you're aware, but Davos, where the most wealthy of the world come together, over the last 7-8 years, since the global backlash happened against globalization, has been talking about inequality. It doesn't make them Marxist. It doesn't make them left-leaning. The second point, that do you, Sandeep, have no discomfort if 1% of Indians, which by the way doesn't include many of us here, owns 22% of India's income and 40% of our wealth. I mean, that should bother you. That should agitate you if you are a
Okay.
truly
Okay,
sensitive
Mohan.
Indian. That's a
Mohan,
point.
Mohan, now.
And by the way,
Mohan.
inequality today is
Barkha.
worse than it was during the British Raj.
I
Barkha,
think
Barkha.
yes, Mohan,
Barkha.
yeah, Mohan.
Congress wrote a very bad document which consists of minority appeasement, division of this country, giving freebies to everybody without talking about jobs, except the silly 30 lakh jobs in government which don't exist. Modi has taken full advantage of all the utterances, including the silly thing by Rahul Gandhi, and is going to the people and doing. You must credit him with interpreting it correctly for the ordinary people. For the voting tomorrow, day after, and everywhere, what we discuss here doesn't matter. What matters is what 90% of people whom Rahul says he is very fond of think about all these things. And they're very clear in their mind. They don't want anything whereby anybody can take away any of their property, which they work very hard to do. So whatever you talk, it doesn't matter. Then you spoke about hate speech. Let me tell you, Modi spoke the truth. And Barkha, I want to speak, things which you may not like. One, in 1947, Muslims were 3 crores, others were 30 crores, India was 33 crores. Today, out of 142 crores, Muslims are about 122 crores, and others are about Muslims are about 22 crores, and others are about 120 crores. They multiply 7 times, others have gone 4 times. We have a population problem. We spoke about it. That is the truth. That is not
But
hate.
I told
That is
you,
the truth.
Let
me finish. And now there's a political problem in the south of this country. When the delimitation comes, we are going to lose. Why? Because the fertility is low. We are developed. The north has got more children. The fertility is high. We are going to get less seats. That's going to be a political problem. We can't hide it away. We can't put it away. And second, when he spoke about the Ghose areas or whatever it is, they are infiltrators. They happen in Bengal. In Bengal, we're getting those Bangladeshis come. Mamta is welcoming them, doing everything, calling Hindus kafirs and all that. None of you have the courage to talk about that or abuse her or tell anything let us not have differential standards. Let's not have differential standards, Barkha. And let's not say Modi is only hate speech. What about Mamta Banerjee's hate speech? Rahul Gandhi's hate speech in economic matters. Let us face that. When you are Modi haters, like you have 2 people here, they will say everything about Modi is wrong. And please remember, Barkha, 30% of all Modi's benefits are gone to Muslims. There is no discrimination against Muslims in this country. 30% of all benefits are not gone to Muslims during the Congress regime in every year for the last 55 years. Muslims are not benefited at all. In Modi's regime, Muslims have benefited the most because they have become the poorest community in this country because of minority appeasement. That is data for you.
Can I speak now? Talking about data, the last time you brought this up, S.Y. Qureshi was on the panel. Dr. Qureshi has written a book called The Population Myth. One of the things he points out in that is that when it comes to polygamy, the highest rate of polygamy is among Indian tribals.
It's not about polygamy.
Marginally higher among Hindus compared to Muslims. I think there's a 0.1% difference or something.
Not about polygamy.
When it comes to population, he argues in his book that the demographic difference, he said in 2100, Muslims are projected to be 18% of India's population.
Yes.
18%, right?
Yes.
So it's a 4%
from 9% to 18%. 9% to 18%. They got their own country in
2100.
They got their own country in 1947. Don't forget. They got their own country in 1947.
Okay, let me get other people
9 to 18 is very huge. Please remember the 9 to 18 is huge. They're the poorest community. We pay taxes. It goes to subsidize somebody who don't educate the children, who don't look after the children, and the taxpayers have to pay. Barkha, they're real issues. They're not hate. They're all real issues.
This is a very nice, a very full-blown, fully matured communal rant. But let me just say one thing very
It's not a communal rant, Saba. Please shut up and don't make stupid comments. It's not a communal rant. We're talking about data. Please stop making this stupid kind of comments. Should I call you a jihadi also? Which call me communal, I'll call you a jihadi. Please stop this nonsense. Please stop making personal comments.
Retire gracefully.
Please withdraw the statement. Please withdraw the statement and stop making personal comments. I'll call you a jihadi otherwise.
No. You
Please
can't call
stop it.
anyone a jihadi. You can't
I'm not
call
here
anyone
for
a
you to make
jihadi,
stupid
Mohan.
comments about me.
Mohan, she is
Please shut up.
on your issue.
I'm talking about something else. I'm
Mohan,
not
let's
even
please.
communicating with Mr. Pai at this point. I'm making
all
a
right.
point that the
let's
caste
be
census is
civil,
important.
please.
So there is something which we all know is that the poorer the community, and this is why the caste census bothers the upper caste people. What did the Bihar census show you? That the poorer you are, the more children you have. And the richer you are, and the high castes are bound to be richer. That is what is the reason that bothers the now north versus south divide. Anyone who has traveled, you go to a Pasi village, you know that they'll have so many children because the children will die also. There's a very high infant mortality in Hindi belt states, whereas in Tamil Nadu and all, they have achieved sort of their population is not exploding. So population growth by itself, one must understand the demographics, which I always explain to students, is that it is not about Hindu and Muslim, it's about the poor and the rich. This is how I like to see it. And I don't need to have an argument with anyone who is not going to. And that is what all population scientists will tell you. And we have been waiting with bated breath for the census data to be released. And guess what all the census economists say why it is not being released. I won't go into it here because I think the topic is about political narratives. It's not, we are becoming like we are discussing Muslims. Like it's so, can we talk about political narratives, which is what I was told that the debate is about.
Yes,
so
yes,
in my view, it's not so simple. I think there is confusion on the Congress side, but I think there is a sort of shock in the world which is watching Vishwaguru about the Prime Minister. And frankly, since I've been in UP, all of it does come from alarm because there is a lethargy. I'm not saying there is a wave against Modi, but the voter percentage is down. There is a level of indifference. The first phase of voting did not go well in Rajasthan. And the questions here go back to people asking whether Vasundhara Raje would have handled things better. It certainly did not go, according to me, Barkha, you've been there, but their own estimates are that they are worried about two states, not so much UP. UP, they'll whatever, Bihar and Maharashtra.
Well, the Indian Express had this slide in the morning today, which actually showed you that the Hindi-speaking states is where the turnout has been hit. And is this a kind of anxiety? I am not a psephologist. I do not know how to join.
I'll tell you what's happening. Because I went and met their voters. So some of them are, ek to 400 par hai. Secondly, there's no excitement which is sending people to the polling booth. And this Hindu-Muslim thing is not really even even in places like Meerut and all, which have had a history of writing and communal tropes. It's not actually it's an election where there's, and those who are not traditional BJP voters, let's take Jatav community, they will say ki lekin fayda kya hai, hum bhenji ko denge, wo jeetengi nahi. There's a lethargy, and the BJP voter is lethargic. There is also resentment in Muzaffarnagar because all those BJP guys are having to share with RLD people. So hence you had this bizarre phenomenon.
Let's get reaction. Sandeep first, then Sanjay, then we'll take last comment. Sandeep, go ahead. Sandeep.
See, I wouldn't get carried away by these projections about after the first round. We have heard first round projections after UP elections. We have heard projections of UP elections till the last round, and how Modi was, had lacked confidence, and that's why he was camping in Varanasi for 3 days, etc. That we can wait till 4th of June to get those answers. Each one has their calculation. They may be, and if there is a problem and they are recalibrating, it's part of their game. If they would be stupid, and that's one of the good things about BJP. BJP is always paranoid, and as they say, paranoid survive. So they never take anything for granted. They don't get carried away by a few rallies or something and saying, "Abhi to har raha hai." So that is there. And if they still lose, too bad. It's part of the thing. But we have heard these stories twice in UP. We have heard it in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan just now. So that's a different point, Barkha. But I think we must come back. People have to be consistent in their messaging, what they are trying to say or not. This 400 par, you'll find Modi is no longer talking about it, because if that was giving people a complacency, he has moved on to another thing. That's the calibration. That's part of the game. Somebody may say, oh, he's not talking of 400 par because he is today nervous. He knows he'll never be 400 par. He's not even sure of 200 par. That's fine. But that we will know only later. If he thought that was mobilizing voters earlier and now it's not mobilizing, or that's not true, let him do that. But the point here is, what is the messaging? Whether Modi is getting, because the Modi clearly doesn't take foreign media as his audience. He is not bothered about what foreign media is going to be writing. They can go on writing till the cows come home. He is more interested in who's going to put the vote in the ballot box, who's going to press, and for that he is doing something. And he makes, Others have been, as I'm saying, it's a difference between ODI or T20. There are a certain set of people who are used to shoot and scoot. He is not doing shoot and scoot. He goes on changing his thing and plays a longer match. And that's what he is doing. That's how I see it.
Okay, Sanjay, and then we have to take last comment. Sanjay Jha.
Yeah. My short point is the very fact that after 10 years in government, for a man who promised the moon to the very innocent and trusting people of India, Narendra Modi has nothing to offer. Can you imagine after 10 years, if anybody was a leader, he would go to the people with a laundry list of achievements and say, these are the things that I want to do and give me an opportunity to do it again. His entire campaign is based on the Congress manifesto, which is exactly what I'm hearing a lot in Maharashtra where I live. Mr. Modi has unwittingly, on account of following the BJP playbook of, divide and rule politics, the usual communal polarization, and that will get him votes, has probably overplayed his book, because India is moving on. And after 10 years, they are asking questions: what is happening to my job? Because that is the biggest indicator of the health of an economy. And there are issues. There are some very serious issues. So I read Barkha in Mr. Modi's very ugly, vulgar, vile, and abusive intent towards Muslims when he called the Congress document, I think, a pathological liar will have to call it a Muslim League document. I have read it 3 times. There is no mention of Muslim or Hindu. There is no attempt to try and create a sectarian divide. It's a brilliant document, in my opinion. We can agree or disagree with the policies. So here is my last line. It does display a very deep level of insecurity. And I'll tell you where that is coming from. I think Sandeep anticipated what I was going to say. A man who said 370 in January is now talking about if Congress comes to power. So let me tell you, Barkha, what has really changed that Modi knows and maybe don't. When he made that 370 and 400, what was the time, Barkha? Go back to that time. That was the time when the Pran Pratishtha was happening or had just happened. Unfortunately for the BJP, this is a very important missing narrative that people haven't gone deep into. The Ram Temple narrative that he thought was a done and dusted deal hasn't happened. It definitely hasn't happened outside of Uttar Pradesh. And even within Uttar Pradesh, I know people in Faizabad, I know people in Uttar Pradesh. I come from Bihar. I ask a lot of questions of people. They say it's a good thing. All Hindus are proud. Are they going to vote for Modi because of that?
I think that's an important point, and I'll come to Mohan with that. Mohan, I was in your home city of Bangalore. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to meet, but we're driving through from city to city. So many Modi voters I met, Modi voters. I said, what are you voting? Why are you voting the BJP? And the one answer I got all the time was India standing in the world. And some said Modi's 24/7 workaholic attitude, single-minded focus. Then I said Mandir. They said exactly what Sanjay Jha said. Mandir is a good thing. We're happy it's come, but this is not a voting issue for us here. My question is, did the Mandir issue peak too soon politically for the BJP? Has it failed to possibly yield the results they hoped for?
Barkha, the Mandir has made people feel good about themselves and good about this country, because most people think that after 500 years, Bhagwan Sri Ram has come back to his birthplace and they feel happy about it. The feeling of anxiety is gone. That's what people say. Now, let me say one thing. People of this country are very smart. When they vote for the state government, when they vote in the state election, they vote for state issues. When they vote in the municipal election, they vote for roads and clean water, etc. When they vote for the Lok Sabha election, they vote on national issues. Now, what are they voting for? They're voting for a party or a person who will take this country forward, make them much more wealthy, create very good job for the children, and give India a great name globally. And they will decide who is the best person for that. And to my mind, if you look at all the leaders, there's only one leader who comes forward who has done it for 10 years, will do it again for the next 5 years if elected. Now, whatever all of us say on this panel doesn't resonate with people. If I remember, one journalist went on a bus in Bangalore in a famous thing and say, oh, whom will you vote? Modi. Whom will you vote? Modi. And what did the woman say? The woman said, oh, he has taken our country forward. We got great respect because it's all national election. National elections are very different. People may talk about local issues. When they go to vote, they're voting for the country. So let us wait and see on June 2nd, 3rd, what is going to happen. I think voting for the country, Barkha, what is the alternative? Is Rahul a real alternative? Is the Kitri an alternative? We don't have any alternative but Modi. And Modi has done a very good job, despite what Sanjay said. The data says it all. People are benefited.
Okay.
And when you go around, you'll see, to me, the issues are very clear. All these are all peripheral issues. He is capitalizing on the stupidity of the Congress, the lack of a narrative, like our friend said, to tell them and play to their fears, play to their excitement, play to their emotion, to get them to vote. There's nothing wrong. There's a rhetoric, political rhetoric.
Okay. Saba, in the war of narratives, do you think the Congress has a central narrative? Sandeep, I'm giving you the closing word after Saba. Saba, yeah.
I think the Congress narrative is now going to be heard. There is a confusion about it. We know. I mean, I wish it had been handled differently. I think what the Congress needs to say is what they're offering people. 1 lakh, that is an important promise. It worked in places. You've been in Tamil Nadu. You could have, I don't know if you got that feedback. What is the feedback you're getting in Karnataka? Besides Bangalore, which is always more inclined towards the BJP.
I mean, my feedback in Karnataka is more of a fight than last time, but in urban centers, Modi brand remains very dominant. That is my one-line feedback.
So overall, I just feel that this election is not a wave. There's no great sentiment right now. But if there are losses, I have not been to Bihar or Maharashtra. If there are losses coming from these places, I don't see where they're being made up. I don't see Tamil Nadu being swept by the BJP for all the Anna Malai hype. It's not going to happen. Neither will anything much happen in Kerala. So where are the seats being made up? So we are not talking about anything which is looking, that's all. That's my hard arithmetic. So I think we're going back to the basics of Hindu versus Muslim. Because Sanjay is right. The most interesting part about all these statements is that both Modi and Amit Shah are talking about the possibility of the Congress and SP coming to power. हम लोग नहीं सोच रहे थे ये कह रहे वो आने वाले हैं आपका मंगलसूत्र ले जाएंगे आपकी संदीप ले जाएंगे they are talking तो होगा कुछ they must have got feedback no so that's all I'll say.
Sandeep, closing word.
No, I just wanted to say, I thought Mohan will say this. Bangalore urban, I wouldn't be surprised if they're talking about the global scenario, because that's what Bangalore, being the IT city, the tech city, etc., they are much more bothered. You would have probably heard much more of Ram Mandir even in Tamil Nadu, because there are certain people, whether they vote for BJP or not, it resonates.
I'm not saying it's not an emotive issue. I'm just saying it may not be an electoral issue. These are just two different things.
It would be electoral issues in certain parts. So we cannot, paint India with the same brush. The narrative, as you are saying, is important. Nobody reads the manifesto, Barkha. Only now people have started making manifesto a big thing and launch. I wrote a piece on that and. From a marketing standpoint and money control, suddenly, we have FMCI, CTI is the thing, and people are launching manifesto. Nobody used to even look at it. But people, therefore, what Rahul Gandhi and Congressman is denying what has been written on the manifesto, saying that look at my manifesto, best document ever. Doesn't matter how you interpret in 2 or 3 bullet points. That is what will register. Okay, and that's what's really happening. Anyway, the rest of it, I suppose, as you said, 4th of June, we'll all wait and watch.
Still very far, still very hot, and still space for the political temperatures to get hotter than the actual temperatures. Briefly, there was a sort of spike in temperatures on this program as well, but I'm glad both Mohan and Saba are smiling at the end. That's how we like to end the program, at least. Thank you, Mohandas, Saba, Naqvi, Sanjay Jha, and Sandeep Ghosh. Thank you very much. And thank you to our audience as I sign off today from the streets of Hyderabad. As you can see, my little chariot behind me continues to take us from Kanyakumari to Kashmir by road, where we have the chance to really discover the flavors of democracy. This is also my moment to ask all of you to become members of the Mojo community. All the details are on the link below. Do become a member and give us a chance to get to know you better, and also special opportunities for you to put questions to our newsmakers, to have first access to our interviews, and also talk to me directly once every week. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we are beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Havas of democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you the people, of we the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member. Click on the link below.